Most retirement guides will tell you to move to Naples or Sarasota, but there's a stretch of Florida Space Coast that retirees are choosing instead. And once I tell you what they're getting for their money, you'll understand why. Hi, I'm Lourdes Sliwa, and I am a real estate agent here on the Space Coast, and I've spent years helping people trying to figure out whether this little piece of paradise is the right fit for them in the next chapter of their lives. So, is the Space Coast actually a good place to retire for you? Here's the short answer. For the right person, this area is hard to beat. We have small beach towns, a real community feel, waterfront access, and prices that still make sense compared to most of coastal Florida. But I want to explain why I think that is, and why I think the Space Coast is a good place for you to retire. And it goes beyond the beach photos and the rocket launches, although they're amazing. There are little other reasons that are more practical than that. And I'll be honest about the things you need to know before you make a decision to move here. So let's start with money, because that's the most important thing when people are thinking about retiring and they're planning that move. Compared to other parts of Florida that get all of the attention, like Miami and Naples and Sarasota, Brevard County is still relatively affordable. You can find waterfront homes here that will cost you 2 or 3 times as much as on the Southwest coast or in Miami, and property taxes are still pretty reasonable. The cost of living in the beach town sits below most Florida averages in most categories. A lot of retirees I work with are coming from larger homes up north, and when they compare what the current home equity can buy them here on the Space Coast over other Florida markets, consistently the Space Coast comes out ahead on space and value. But that doesn't mean everything is cheap. It's not. But your dollar does go further here than people would expect. And that's a lot when you're living on fixed income or drawing down from your savings. But let me stop here for a minute, because I want to clear up a big misconception that I hear all the time. People assume that because we're on the coast and we are between 2 rivers and the Atlantic Ocean's nearby, that flood insurance is going to be a major cost. And that is not always the case. A lot of the homes in Satellite Beach and Harbour Beach sit about 11 to 16 feet above sea level. And when FEMA is looking for flood zone classification, they're mostly looking at elevation and how a home sits on the lot, not necessarily how close it is to the water. And many properties here are either on low risk zones or you don't require flood insurance at all. So it's worth looking at the specifics at any home that you're thinking about buying, whether it is on the beach or on the inland, because there are homes on the inland that are on a flood zone because of the way that the home is elevated on the property. Just keep that in mind when you're looking to buy here. Now let's talk about what life actually looks like here day to day, because that's what makes people stay here. In Viera and Suntry, we have several 55 plus communities that have all of the amenities to truly enjoy your retirement years. And they are close to golf courses, shopping, restaurants. The beach towns are a little different on the barrier island, like in Satellite Beach, in Harbour Beach, Indialantic, and Harbour Beach, although they have also been a top choice for retirees. And that's because they have the character that is rare in Florida. It's still a small town feel, it's quiet, people know their neighbors, and it's not a major tourist trap. There's no spring break or people coming in from Orlando to the beaches. You can get to the ocean in 5 minutes and actually find parking or go to lunch or dinner without waiting 2 hours. Another huge lifestyle aspect in the area is boating. Boating is huge here. The Indian River Lagoon runs the length of the whole entire county. And if you have a boat or if you want one, this is really a great place to use it. And also you can go fishing here, paddleboarding, kayaking, anything you want to do in water activities. And then if you're on the beach, Viera is about 20 minutes inland, and it has restaurants, as I mentioned. It also has golf and entertainment options and shopping and all the things that you would expect from a larger market. The Space Coast has a relatively large retiree population. If you're worried about being isolated because you're moving away from your family, we have the community infrastructure to support you on that. We have a lot of active adult communities that exist here. We have social groups, clubs, fitness programs, church communities. All those things are not very hard to find around here. And another thing that some of my clients that are looking to retire here think is a huge concern is healthcare. And in Brevard County, we have multiple hospital systems like Health First, which operates in several facilities across the county. We also have Orlando Health. And for most routine care and specialist needs, you don't have to go anywhere else. For major medical centers, if you want that, it's only an hour away, west in Orlando. There is one thing that doesn't come up a lot in conversations with my retirees, and that is the school system. And it really should come up in conversation. Brevard County's public schools are among the stronger systems in the entire state, and they offer school of options. And yes, you may not have the need for a school since you no longer have school-age children, but a good school system is important for maximizing the value of your home when you sell it. So what are the honest things you should be thinking about before making this move? Let's talk about that. Insurance is a real conversation in Florida. Not only in the Space Coast, but all across Florida. And we're not talking about just flood insurance. We're talking about homeowners insurance, hurricane insurance. In the last few years, these costs have gone up statewide. And that is not unique to the Space Coast, but it's something that you need to fit in your budget when you're looking to retire. It's a real cost. And a good local real estate agent can walk you through what that looks like for each property and neighborhoods before you make an offer. Another huge negative that I hear a lot from people, especially those moving here from somewhere else up north or in colder climates, is the humidity. And the humidity, if you haven't lived here for a long time, that is a big issue, and one that takes some getting used to. And again, it's one of the biggest complaints I hear from people that have migrated here, and some can't get over it. Another negative to consider is hurricane season. You can't forget the hurricane season. Although most years, the Space Coast gets outer bands of storms rather than direct hits, you should still be prepared for the reality of it and the work that comes with boarding up your home and after storm cleanup, which can be a nuisance. And it happens, every other year or so. So to sum it up, here's what I've seen consistently over the years of working with buyers and retirees. The people who are happiest with this move are the ones who did the research, understood what they were getting into, and matched their lifestyle to the right neighborhood. The Space Coast is not for everyone, but for a certain kind of person, somebody who wants a real community, genuinely likes the beach style, and values that getting harder to find value in Florida, and this area is hard to beat. If you want to see what the market looks like in your specific neighborhood that you're considering, I put a free neighborhood market report that shows you exactly what's happening with prices and inventories and days on the market. So you can click on the link below to get that if you would like, or you can contact me directly. I'm happy to walk you through the situation with no pressure and no pitch. If this was useful to you, please subscribe. I put on honest, practical content about the Space Coast real estate every week. If you've been considering retiring the Space Coast, drop your biggest question in the comments and I'll be happy to answer it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.